Hey. Hey. I don't know if you guys heard the first hey. I don't know. This is a weird camera situation. But I wanted to start off this conversation by talking about another situation because I'm a tangential ass bitch. And so first of all, for the past couple of days, and honestly since apparently last year, because I looked at some date stamps on some earlier comments, someone posted a picture of this white woman with some blonde box braids, and naturally I was disgusted. Naturally I let her know that she was an appropriator, and naturally I let the other slew of white women who had also engaged in black protective hairstyles appropriating the fuck out of them, making no mention to origins or anything like that. I feel like that's the main thing about appropriation of black hair, is the fact that these white women will do their hair and it looks like, first of all, shit. It looks like shit, first of all. I think if you're a white person, you shouldn't be doing box braids. If you want box braids and you're a white person, you need to take your ass to the African salon and pay $250 fucking dollars and sit there for fucking 8 hours. That's what the fuck you need to do. I don't want to see no white bitches putting no fucking African braids in their hair. I don't want to see no Senegalese twist. I don't want to see no fucking Havana fucking twist and no white bitch's hair. Unless you went to the motherfucking salon and you sat there like every other black girl had to sit the fuck there and pay over $200 motherfucking dollars. I don't want to see you at the beauty supply buying up all the fucking hair. I don't want to see you there. I want to see you patroning other black folks, since you love the style so much, since you want to be down so bad. That's what the fuck I want to see you do. Because fuck having all these circular ass conversations about appropriation. Fuck trying to explain to white women that it's deeper than hair. Fuck trying to explain to white women that wearing black hair and getting treated poorly by folks is not you as a white woman experiencing hate. It is you as a white woman experiencing anti-blackness through proxy, like through your thievery. You had to experience something perhaps negative. People saying fucked up things to you. People saying things to you like you're white trash, which I thought was really interesting. That white folks don't realize that when other folks are calling you white trash for having black hairstyles, how that still reflects poorly upon black women's protective stylings. That you are only trash when you steal our hair. Do you understand that shit? Probably the fuck not. So I'm gonna keep moving on. So that whole situation happening, and then this happens, where a white woman appropriates black hair, masquerades as a woman of color, especially a black woman of color. And I think from her being a lot, like, it's not like this woman got her hair, it's not like this woman was like, I'm gonna be a medium brown or I'm gonna be a dark skinned person. She decided that she was going to be a light skinned black woman. And I just thought that was really interesting, that she traded her privilege, her white privilege, she traded that for yet another privileged position within an oppressed group of people. I thought that was very interesting, that as a white woman, she decided, you know what, things might be a little bit better if or rather, not even things will be a little bit better. I don't know her thought process, and I refuse. I honestly refuse to sit here and say Rachel Dolezal is mentally unwell, mentally unstable. I refuse to say those things, because this woman is in a chair-sitting position. She's the fucking leader of the Washington chapter of the NAACP. For real? And y'all go sit here and say that this bitch is unwell mentally. And I feel like that's not even just on some shit where they're saying she's unwell because she's clearly fabricating many stories about hate crimes that never happened to her and all types of anecdotal things that only black folks or folks who share the black kaleidoscope of experiences would even the fuck talk about. You know what I mean? Not to say that there's not white folks out there talking about black issues, but I feel like the reality is this white woman knew that it would be easier for her if she really is invested in social justice work, as she said in the interview which I posted on my blog. If she really is interested, is as invested, talking about since when she was in middle school, high school, she was invested in social justice work. If that is where it's originating from, her being so caught up in social justice work that she wanted to be a light-skinned bitch, like I just I'm just sitting here like, where did your teaching go wrong? What white person who was talking to you and giving you information led you the fuck astray like this? I wonder. But I'm not going to sit here and say that you're mentally unwell, that you are mentally ill, that you are differently abled. I'm not going to say any of those things, because clearly you're quite capable of coming up with a fucking large-ass, grand-ass scheme. And I'm not going to sit here and act like it don't take a certain level of privilege and a certain level of, honestly, a certain level of just deceit to pull all this shit off. I think one of my other issues is trying to parallel both of these situations. You know, I'm yelling at these white bitches for wearing box braids, and I'm trying to explain to them historically, you know, how black women get shitted on, and then here we go with a white woman stealing black hair, stealing signifiers of blackness, signifiers perhaps also not just black, but definitely I think what I'm trying to say is this woman coded herself as ethnically, ambiguously racial. I know that she had cited herself as being white, black, and Native American. And I thought that was also interesting that she said that she was a First Nations person and a black person and a white person. Like, she got all this mix. And I want to just take a time out because I have a friend who's First Nations. Their name is Sloan. They're the shit. Shout out to you, Sloan. And they always post things about how, you know, folks don't never be thinking about Native folk, how they only talk about Native folk when they talk about their ancestry in terms of like, you know, when they're saying something racist and saying something fucked up, they're always like, oh, I got a Native American grandma, or I'm part Native American, in ways like to describe, you know, different textures in hair and shit like that. People be claiming Native ancestry, but they don't really do shit for Native folk. And I feel like in ways that's like, I feel like it's very powerful to think about how a white woman pretended to not only be black, but she also pretended to be indigenous. And in ways, I liken that to a lot of folks out here who be claiming Native ancestry, but what do y'all do for Native folks? How do you interrupt the settler colonial project? How do you give back and really, like, you know, kind of give back to the earth? How do you really think about the ways in which Native folks cared for the earth in ways that we are so bastardized from, that all we seemingly seem to know is how to capitalize, colonize, and perpetuate those systems? There's a lot of questions to ask yourself when you're claiming Native ancestry, and I feel like that's one of the things I want to put in here, because I don't know if anyone's even talked about that, because when I saw that, I was like, okay, bitch, like, you're not even just black, like, you claiming indigenous ancestry. Okay, bitch. Okay. All right. And honestly, throughout this all unfolding, I actually started a dialogue on my Facebook, and I had one of my Facebook friends actually kind of go in on me and try and say that, you know, I was just talking about the situation to be relevant. And I thought it was really interesting because I asked them, I said, what do I get from this situation other than outing a white person as a thief? I also get the residual pain of knowing that had I come on this video wearing whatever the fuck kind of straight, blonde, whatever kind of wig I wanted to wear that wasn't this texture, I would have, and I might still have, people in my inbox or in my comment section trying to tell me that I'm appropriating white culture, that I'm stealing from whiteness by wearing straight hair, as if white folks are the only folks who have straight hair, as if white folks are the only folks that have blonde hair. There's so many ways in which folks perceive black women as wanting to not be black women, that it's kind of, in ways I'm sure to a lot of these fucking folks out here who are not seeing the problem, think it's fascinating, respectful, thinks she's an ally. Someone really told me that the person I had a fight with on Facebook actually told me that this white woman was an ally, and that until they find out she did anything negative with her positionality and her status, that they don't see what the issue is, and that I was perpetuating hate somehow by being upset, being hurt. And I feel like my hurt feelings are from the fact that I am black. I am black. and I am outspoken about racism, and I am outspoken about black Politico. Do I believe that I deserve to have a position in the NAACP? Definitely not. I definitely don't think so, because I think on some real shit, I think as a light-skinned person, it's important for me to be mindful of where the fuck I'm seeing my representation. And when you look at the NAACP, when you look at the leaders of the NAACP, a lot of them are light-skinned black women. And I feel like it's, in ways, very discouraging for other black folks to try and get into this elite-ass fucking organization, and to be light-skinned, to be ambiguously racial, to be able to put on different hairstyles and be able to code yourself is definitely a privilege. I know for myself that when I'm wearing my black wig, I'll have folks be like, oh, are you Latina? Oh, are you Polynesian? And then if I have my blonde wig, folks, you know, same questions. But I think it definitely comes down to hair. I think not just hair, but I think hair is definitely political as fuck. I think that's another thing I wanted to talk about, was while I'm fighting with these white ladies, here's this other white lady stealing the signifiers of blackness, and also, you know, just coding herself as black. She adopted black children. She married a black man. And I think, like, the wildest part about all of this is the fact that her white parents contacted the news. And I wonder what took her white parents so long. I wonder, did this woman pretend to be white around her white family? Did she only code as black when she was not in the Midwest? I'm not sure. But I refuse again to believe that this woman is mentally unstable or unwell just because folks are just like, why would she do this? And not to mention the fact that folks don't want to call this shit blackface. They want to say she misrepresented her race. They don't want to say blackface, and I feel like that's because when you think about blackface, folks unfortunately think the shit is funny. They think it's a comedy thing. People don't really think about folks pretending to be black, to pass for black, in order to get positionality. And I think that this speaks so much to light-skinned privilege and how light-skinned folks can find themselves in very lucrative positions of power just off the basic ass identity, or excuse me, just off the basic fact that this woman said she was black and had some curly, kinky ass hair. I also noticed she was contouring her nose for it to look wider, but when I listened to her voice, I was definitely sonically not hearing a woman of color or a black woman. And I know that that's fucked up to say, but I think at the same time, being real, I think this also again goes into light-skinned privilege and the fact that this like light-skinned woman can be as white as can fucking be, but a little bit of curly hair, a little bit of contouring, and there you go. I don't know. I think like in ways I wanna be talking about light-skinned privilege, but at the same time, in ways, trying to juxtapose light-skinned privilege with what this woman is doing, in ways feels wrong, because this is a blatant white woman who, this is a white woman who decided to code for black. Do I think that she wanted to be darker? In ways, there are pictures where her complexion seems darker. There's other times where her complexion seems lighter. I'm not sure if it's the lighting. I'm not sure if it's because her tanning specialist was trying to, you know, just trying to hook her up with the Cheeto dust and failed sometimes and didn't other times. I don't know these things. But as the story unfolds, as I see her running away from her interview, I can only conclude that this is a woman who is so caught up in white supremacy, so entitled to black spaces, and perhaps her social justice introduction was wayward. Perhaps she was around a lot of white folks who were on some bullshit. Perhaps it was just because she's a white woman and she had the fucking idea to do the shit, and so she did the shit. It could really be no real reason other than the fact that this white woman decided that perhaps clout, credibility, actually, you know what? It's not even like you can't even understand it. It's as simple as Tim Wise already exists. Tim Wise is out here capitalizing on white folks talking about racist shit. This white woman probably felt like, well, you know what? I'm never gonna be the most paid white person talking about this shit. So I could just be a light-skinned woman, a light-skinned black woman, working at the NAACP, being able to use my degrees in social justice, or rather use my degrees in intersectionality and all this shit, use my degrees in black politico, use all of my knowledge and experience in blackness in a place where they're actively, very obviously looking for light-skinned women to be in power. And so in ways, as much as it feels weird to talk about light-skinned privilege, I think it also feels weird not to talk about it, because this woman clearly is a very privileged individual. You look online and you can see she's written many articles. She's a leader of a fucking NAACP chapter in Washington motherfucking DC. Washington State. It's a situation where I'm just not sure if folks understand the gravity of this. And I feel like at the end of the day, it all comes down to black women and how folks don't give a fuck about us. And I think that had this woman perhaps colored herself any darker, folks perhaps will be able to understand. But I think because she coded herself as light-skinned, because she coded herself as an educated light-skinned woman, I think that she was able to fly under the radar for a very long time. And even though folks are coming out now saying that they thought she was white and all this and that, they never challenged her. And that is how the fuck deep light-skinned privilege goes. Because I think that no matter what, it's identity politics on its fucking head. It's the idea that by looking at you, I know you. I can infer this. And the reality is, looking at this white woman, to the untrained motherfucking eye, this bitch could pass for some sort of multi-ethnic, biracial, mixed person, perhaps, but I think to a lot of black folks it's very clear that this is a white woman with some perm rods in, and who has abused self-tanner. And it's sad, but I think at the same time, it's, as I said, it's about the care that black women receive. If someone was doing this to a black man, if a white man had pretended to be black, oh please. If a black man had pretended to be the if a white man had pretended to be a black man and run a motherfucking NAACP chapter, we would not hear the fucking end of it. Nobody would say that this man had mental illness. Nobody would say any of those things. And I feel like mental illness is a cop for this white woman. I feel like it's because nobody wants to see this white woman get fucking dragged. Not nobody, but a lot of white folk probably don't want to see her get dragged. A lot of white folk probably are like, and as I read in the comments and a lot of these videos that came out of her, a lot of these white folk want so badly for her to get help, for her to talk to somebody, for her to get some help. Fuck help. She's already used too many resources out here in the world. I'm kind of over her. She could probably, like, just step down from her position at the job she's at and kick the motherfucking rocks with no shoes on, please. That's what I would prefer her to do, quite honestly. Because after pretending to go through anti-black violence, putting your children through simulated anti-black violence by your own self, at your own hand, putting nooses near your house, putting fucked up notes and shit like that, fake bombs and shit in your mail, in your PO boxes and shit like that, or sending or bringing shit to your work and making it seem like someone just randomly dropped the shit off. All of that shit, it don't sound like someone who's mentally unstable. It sounds like someone who's very calculating, who understands the way that anti-blackness porn. People really do go out and search for anti-black ass videos and rhetoric and shit like that. They go and they enjoy this shit. They consume this shit. So I think that it's really interesting that you would subject young black children to anti-blackness in your own fucking care, and then be trying to have an interview like that wasn't fucked up. And I feel like in the interview, I think she was not about to say that she was not black, but she didn't want to say that she was black. Like in the video, I feel like the whole way she was talking and the whole way she was naming her sons as black but not herself, and her not ever once naming herself as a black woman or a black academic or a black woman involved with the NAACP. She never coded herself as black, but she made sure to code her children as black and the mother of those children. And after knowing that these children have been adopted, after knowing that, you know, this woman is clearly masquerading in blackface, it's kind of just like, it's spooky as fuck, it's creepy as fuck, but I don't want y'all to like forget white supremacy is illogical as fuck. Excuse me, white supremacy is illogical as fuck. There's no rhyme or reason why white folks would do any of the things that they fucking do. So to sit there and try to figure out what kind of fucking mental illness diagnosis and some shit like that we would give this woman is just fucked up, and we're holding too much fucking space for some sort of rehabilitation of someone who is clearly a fucking despicable ass garbage heap of a fucking human. This person pretty much stole the life experiences of black women and then tried to tell black women about themselves as a white woman. Nigga. That when other folks are calling you white trash for having black hairstyles, how that still reflects poorly upon black women's protective stylings. That you are only trash when you steal our hair. Do you understand that shit? Probably the fuck not, so I'm gonna keep moving on. So that whole situation happening, and then this happens, where a white woman appropriates black hair, masquerades as a woman of color, especially a black woman of color, and I think from her being a lot, like, it's not like this woman got her hair, it's not like this woman was like, I'm gonna be a medium brown, or I'm gonna be a dark skin, making no mention to origins or anything like that. I feel like that's the main thing about appropriation of black hair, is the fact that these white women will do their hair and it looks like, first of all, shit. It looks like shit, first of all. I think if you're a white person, you shouldn't be doing box braids. If you want box braids and you're a white person, you need to take your ass to the African salon and pay $250 fucking dollars and sit there for fucking 8 hours. That's what the fuck you need to do. I don't want to see no white bitches putting no fucking African braids in their hair. I don't want to see no Senegalese twist. I don't want to see no fucking Havana fucking twist and no white bitch's hair, unless you went to the motherfucking salon and you sat there like every other black girl had to sit the fuck there and pay over $200 motherfucking dollars. I don't want to see you at the beauty supply buying up all the fucking hair. I don't want to see you in person. She decided that she was going to be a light-skinned black woman, and I just thought that was really interesting, that she traded her privilege, her white privilege, she traded that for yet another privileged position within an oppressed group of people. I thought that was very interesting, that as a white woman, she decided, you know what, things might be a little bit better if or rather, not even things will be a little bit better. I don't know her thought process, and I refuse. I honestly refuse to sit here and say Rachel Dolezal is mentally unwell, mentally unstable. I refuse to say those things, because this woman is in a... Hey. I don't know if you guys heard the first hey. I don't know. This is a weird camera situation. But I wanted to start off this conversation by talking about another situation because I'm a tangential ass bitch. And so first of all, for the past couple of days, and honestly since apparently last year, because I looked at some date stamps on some earlier comments, someone posted a picture of this white woman with some blonde box braids, and naturally I was disgusted. Naturally I let her know that she was an appropriator, and naturally I let the other slew of white women who had also engaged in black protective hairstyles appropriating the fuck out of them there. I want to see you patroning other black folks, since you love the style so much, since you want to be down so bad. That's what the fuck I want to see you do, because fuck having all these circular ass conversations about appropriation. Fuck trying to explain to white women that it's deeper than hair. Fuck trying to explain to white women that wearing black hair and getting treated poorly by folks is not you as a white woman experiencing hate. It is you as a white woman experiencing anti-blackness through proxy, like through your thievery. You had to experience something perhaps negative. People saying fucked up things to you. People saying things to you like you're white trash, which I thought was really interesting. That white folks don't realize